1855's Ruthless sensational case of Bridget Hurford. Background of Bridget Hurford. Bridget Hurford, born Bridget Larkin, was an Irish immigrant who arrived in Western Australia in the mid-19th century. She was previously married to a man named James Larkin, who tragically drowned under mysterious circumstances near Bunbury. Left a widow with 6 children, Bridget was known to be a strong-willed and independent woman in a society that often placed strict limitations on women. In 1851, she married John Hurford, a wealthy and much older landowner in his mid-60s. John had arrived in Australia in the 1830s, where he secured extensive lands and amassed a fortune of approximately £2,000. Side note, in 1851, £2,000 was equivalent to approximately $10,000 in American dollars. Despite the financial security John provided, their marriage was reportedly volatile. Rumors swirled that Bridget had a fierce temper and was prone to violent outbursts. There were claims that she physically assaulted John on multiple occasions, even knocking out several of his teeth during heated disputes. The tumultuous marriage and rising tensions sown Hurford's decision to marry Bridget may have been motivated by a desire for companionship in his old age, but it soon became apparent that their relationship was dysfunctional. Witnesses, including household servants and neighbors, reported frequent loud arguments between the couple. John, perhaps out of fear or desperation, sought refuge at the home of a neighbor and shared lodgings with a laborer named George Jones. In a bid to escape the tension, John purchased a separate house where he intended to live apart from Bridget. However, due to circumstances beyond his control, he returned to their shared home in late March 1855, setting the stage for the tragic events that would follow. The murder of John Hurford. In the evening of April 8, 1855, John Hurford was feeling unwell, suffering from what was believed to be a common cold or general fatigue. Bridget offered him mulled wine, which he accepted. She also took steps to ensure that they were alone that night. She told George Jones that John wished to sleep alone and sent her daughter away. Later that night, John Hurford was found dead in his bed. His body was discovered with the bed sheet pulled up to his face, and red marks were found on either side of his neck, suggesting strangulation. Despite this, the initial medical examination by Dr. Hannibal Bryan ruled that John had died of natural causes. The coroner closed the case without further investigation. However, subsequent investigations revealed the horrifying details of his murder. Enoch Dodd, a local laborer, later confessed that he had entered John's bedroom while he slept and, at Bridget's command, placed his hands firmly around John's throat. As John struggled, Bridget allegedly held him down, ensuring that he could not fight back. The act of strangulation was prolonged and brutal, lasting several minutes until John's body went limp. To further cover up the crime, Bridget adjusted his bedclothes to make it appear as if he had passed away peacefully in his sleep. The mulled wine she had given him earlier was suspected to have been laced with a sedative to weaken his resistance. The scandalous confession that changed everything. The case took a dramatic turn when, weeks later, a man named Enoch Dodd confessed to his friend Philip Dixon that he had murdered John Hurford at Bridget's request. Dixon, who had previously been involved in forging John's will to benefit Bridget, revealed chilling details of the crime. Bridget had allegedly manipulated Dodd into committing the murder. She had stood over him, ensuring he carried out the act, while she created noise in the kitchen to mask John's struggle. Dixon himself had forged a will at Bridget's direction, making her the sole beneficiary of John's estate. Shocked by the confession, Dixon reported the matter to the authorities, leading to the arrests of Bridget Hurford and Enoch Dodd. The trial, a courtroom spectacle trial which commenced on October 3, 1855, at the Court of General Quarter Sessions, was one of the most sensational legal proceedings in early Western Australian history. The courtroom was packed with spectators eager to hear the shocking details. Key elements of the trial: Dr. Hannibal Bryan's testimony. Initially, he had ruled the death as natural. However, under cross-examination, he admitted that he lacked formal medical qualifications and had not conducted a thorough examination of the body. Philip Dixon's testimony: he provided a first-hand account of how Bridget conspired to murder John and how she orchestrated the forging of the will. Enoch Dodd's role: the court debated whether Dodd acted out of fear, coercion, or greed, but ultimately determined that he had played a significant role in the murder. Throughout the proceedings, Bridget was painted as a manipulative and dangerous woman. The jury, influenced by the prevailing societal perceptions of women and crime, showed little sympathy for her. The verdict and execution on October 10, 1855, Bridget Hurford and Enoch Dodd were both found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. The harsh judgment underscored the colony's intolerance for violent crimes, especially those involving deception and conspiracy. Their execution took place on October 15, 1855, at Fremantle Prison, marking a grim milestone in Australian history. Bridget became the first woman ever to be hanged in Western Australia. Her execution, particularly as a woman, was seen as a stark warning to others. Philip Dixon, having pleaded guilty to forging the will, was sentenced to transportation to Van Diemen's Land, modern-day Tasmania, for life. The legacy and reflections on the Caseth case of Bridget Hurford remains a haunting chapter in Western Australia's legal history. It highlights several key issues: domestic turmoil and gender expectations. The case revealed the struggles within troubled marriages and how gender roles influence perceptions of criminal behavior. Legal and medical competency. Dr. Bryan's questionable medical expertise demonstrated the limitations of forensic science in the 19th century. Judicial bias. The trial raised questions about how juries perceived female defendants, especially those accused of masterminding violent crimes. Colonial justice. The sentencing and execution of Bridget illustrated the strict and often unforgiving nature of colonial law. While Bridget Hurford was labeled a cold-blooded murderer in her time, some modern perspectives suggest that she may have been trapped in an abusive marriage with limited options. Whether she was a ruthless conspirator or a desperate woman driven to a tragic act remains a topic of debate. Bridget Hurford's story is a gripping tale of crime, scandal, and punishment in colonial Australia. Her execution left a lasting impact, and her case continues to be discussed as a cautionary tale of justice, gender, and power dynamics in the 19th century. For those interested in further details, historical records and court transcripts provide additional insight into one of the most infamous cases in Western Australian history. My name is Penny Flick, with Kreep-ish. I look forward to sharing more of these stories that captivate and intrigue our minds, which can challenge our way of thinking. Comment on your thoughts below as I continue to uncover the mysteries of our history, true crime, paranormal, conspiracy, and cringe-worthy, creepy content. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember that the truth is often stranger than fiction.